Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the morning dump. I am your host. Oh, it's June 18th. It's a Thursday. I'm your host, Jose Galison. This is the kitty of the day. Violet, one of our mamas, going to be soon to be, just like Phoebe. You can kind of tell her tummy's getting bigger. You can see it. She's definitely preggers. And on Sphinx, you can tell, like, in their boobies get all veiny and big when they're preggers. It's pretty obvious. Not as obvious on the hairs on cats with hair for those interested in that little lesson. But for those who like seeing my hot takes Monday through Friday, typically around 11 a.m. Eastern, we're a tad bit late today, but we're basically on time. Or if you just like seeing the kitty of the day, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell for notifications. That way you can see when we're going live and when we're dropping new videos. We'll see you in the show.
Beautiful thing right now.
Rise and shine. It's a beautiful day. I am alright.
About a third of the building has been blown away.
This is the bridge to white lights.
Our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad.
It's crazy evil.
Good morning, everyone. You can't see, it's like just out of frame. Oh, there she is. Her head's poking through, but she actually stuck around. She's in a cuddly mood. Violet's still just chilling in my lap. So when you guys see me move my hands all about, you aren't thinking, what is he doing? Is he playing with himself? No, I'm just playing with my kitty. Just loving on my kitty until whatever she gets bored and runs away. But I don't know, she's being really sweet. That's one of the great things about having having raising kitties is the mamas get really sweet around pregnancy, around having babies. They really do. It's just sweet. It's adorable. And then obviously taking care of kitties, just nice. The beauty of life. But with that, we have hey, hope you guys are having a good morning. I hope you're having a good one. We have plenty to go through with you guys today. If anything, we have too much. I had to cut our regular scheduled deep dive into the Tates. That's going to have to get put on ice. Who knows if we'll ever come back to it. When it rains, it pours, it seems. We talked about already the other day connecting the Iran deal to the Epstein stuff, but let's be real, it connects to a whole bunch of other stuff. And maybe it's the Iran deal, maybe it's just a bunch of things popping off all at once, but we have plenty to go through today. Actually, I'm a little bit late today because I had actually had to make separate bookmark folders for other segments because there was too much. I had to then go take stuff. I had something ridiculous, 5 segments lined up, and then I had to then just, take the time to prepare them for future days. So whatever, it'll make prep easier for other days this week. But man, there's a lot going on. But today, we'll contain it to a few things for today. As always, we start the show off with something, try to keep more fun, funny, gen pop slop, something in that realm. We call them the icebreaker content. That's what we call it. Today's no different. We have some of that to go over with you guys today. And then we'll get into our foreign policy portion today, which today is another one of those days where it has taken on such a level of import that we have decided to raise it up to an actual titled segment. So that's the first titled segment of the day, Trump holding L's to get W's. So that's our foreign policy coverage. Just kind of a weird, surreal moment. It looks like we're kind of, in a weird way, seemingly getting all the things we were wanting to get, which all require Trump to firmly grasp L's, which he's kind of doing in his own way over and over again. Just really bizarre, but whatever. We'll talk about that more. We have Thiel's Secret Society. There was a release of a legit secret society of Peter Thiel. It's not really all that surprising. He's exactly the type to do something like that, but we have plenty to dig through there. And then the UK grape gangs, obviously we're not talking about grapes. You get the deal. We're on YouTube here trying to, I don't know, whatever. I mean, I say all the no-no words. I don't even know why I bother, but I guess at least for the purpose of a title, I should probably church it up to grape. But plenty to talk about there. And as always, I'm looking forward to talking to you guys. Do a little bit of back and forth with the chat, and a little casual reminder, housekeeping-wise. For those, you never know if it's your first time popping in, what this is. This is it's a live stream. This is a interactive experience. I call it an info dump, sort of format show. It's essentially a ton of like bookmarks and articles and stuff, and we kind of group them together into topics. And most of the stuff is stuff we're hashing through together. So it's a dump. Like this isn't like, I did take time to prepare it and put all this stuff together. This was all information I haven't really gone into. I kind of know the cursory idea, what we're covering, obviously, just from a skim. But it's an info dump. So we're digging through a bunch of different information, kind of forming our opinions in real time. With that, I mentioned it was a live experience. Not everyone's here for the live experience. Actually, more of you are than aren't, or more of you are not here for the private experience or for the live experience than are for it. So with that in mind, a lot of people like to do that, like to listen back. What we do to accommodate people like you is we put timestamps on there for each segment, and we keep the chatter toward the end of each segment. That way, as soon as you hear the chat banter, then you go, oh, well, I just need to move on to the next segment, unless for some weird reason you want to listen to the chat banter. But for those here for the live experience, I try to give everyone at least one comment. I give you one good morning. After that, you got to catch my interest or catch my wallet. You can super chat over here. But I think that's all the housekeeping. That's all the things. Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's get into going light, little shenanigans, and get into all that. We have some icebreaker content to go through with you today. Sorry, the kitty's moving around all weird in my lap. She's all big and all unwieldy. All right, cool. She's off my lap. Make it a little easier to do what I'm trying to do here. But if a kitty's trying to love me, who am I to turn away their love? But all right, here we go. Many of you guys may have seen this one. This one is like horrifying, but also weirdly hilarious. And it does kind of seem to make it kind of ties into our last segment of today, going into the third worlders and how they be with the grape gangs over in the UK. But here's a lady getting literally thrown off a cliff. Here you go. Oh, here's another angle.
Meu Deus do céu!
No rope, no nothing. So yeah, you can see the rope on the ground behind her. There's a rope that is supposed to be connected to her. This was in Brazil. 21-year-old Brazil woman dies after she gets thrown off of a bridge without a safety rope. So I guess that charges it up a little bit. But yeah, they straight up just chucked her. Pretty wild. That is a thing happening over Brazil. This is why I don't do dumb shit like this. This is why we'd be like, oh, would you ever want to skydive? You want to do something? No. Why? Why would I do that? Like, I get it. Plenty of people do this over and over and over again. Hell, even something like flying on a plane is something that I kind of like, And I'm someone who worked on planes. Like, I get it, but it's just one little thing goes wrong and you're dead. So defying gravity, sometimes you fight against physics and you lose, and this is one of those times. All right, let's go ahead and start, ease our way into the Trump L's. Although with these Trump L's, I mean, Trump's not taking it as if it's an L. So this is what weirdly kind of makes it enjoyable for people like me. So like all the worst people in the world are actually the ones experiencing the L. Like Trump is just this like, he just kind of takes a position. Whatever one works for him, and he can do a complete 180 the next day and just be completely unashamed. He knows no shame, but the people around him do, and they obviously, they have different ideas of how they would like things to happen. So it's kind of great to see all the lackeys that about 20 minutes ago were super hype about all the shit Trump is doing. Really right now, kind of be like, oh wait, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. Here's one minor example of it. It's more of a funny one. This is Howard Lutnick, which we've showed stuff with Howard Lutnick plenty of times. So usually what you see with that guy is he's just this weird, like, impish creature that's always in the back of Trump, kind of nodding and round, just kind of like some stupid fucking yes man to like a grimy, ridiculous level, like very over the top, very much selling it every single time. And now here is his reaction as Trump's talking shit about Israel. Here you go.
I think Israel too. Look, think of what Israel's getting. They're not going to be nuked. It's very simple. I told Bibi, your biggest risk was that they drop a nuclear weapon into the
Look at that sullen face.
middle of Israel. They'd only need one, and there would be no more.
He's even not shaking his head, which, like, I don't know, maybe that was for some other reason, but he's usually the yuppie, the like smiling even when it's not appropriate. Like, he's the one that they have like a mega reel of him next to Trump, like laughing and giggling when they're talking about Epstein every time. So like, that's who this retard is. So just, I mean, who knows? Maybe he's having a rough day. He's tired. Who knows? But
Israel,
it
think
is
of it,
funny.
baby. You got the most important thing that you were asking for is that. I think Israel too. Look, think
All
of
right.
what
Well, Vance is also kind of part of this humiliation ritual. I'm not quite sure what this means for Vance. This is weird because this Trump deal, they've very much been not Trump. Well, I guess it is. It's the Trump deal now. I mean, a minute ago it was the Vance deal. Vance has been the guy they've kind of hung this Iran deal around his neck. And I think most people were thinking it was going to go to shit. It still very well might. We still have there's still a lot of moving pieces that can make this fall apart. And even then, there might be even more reason to think it'll fall apart than it'll stick together. But I don't know. We'll see. Signs look good, somewhat right now. But either way, it's interesting. We have JD Vance. He's been kind of going around doing the media circuit, and he's been kind of having to take shit for a lot of like the Epstein stuff and this and that. Well, this kind of might work out better for Vance, I think. I'm kind of interested to see if he's going to continue his podcast circuit as things are looking a little bit on the up, because this seems like a place where Vance could thrive. So, I don't know. Interesting 180. Obviously, I do think he's a creature of, funny enough, someone we're going to be talking about here in a few segments. I do think he's essentially he's Teal's fleshlight, but either way, he kind of had sold himself as this like hip new anti-war, like sort of right-wing dissident, really into the theory. Like that's how he was sold. And so like it's been kind of like a very much a slap in the face for his image these past 6 months or so, give or take, because they've been kind of trying to hang a lot of the political fallout on Vance. But I don't know, this one's one to turn around a little bit. Might find him more in his element, might look good for him. But either way, here's a moment. I haven't watched this clip yet. Apparently, the way Chris Menahan here is selling it is this is him cracking up at the mention of one of these neocon ones, which this is one of these neocon people having this meltdown, which is John Podhoretz, who's this kind of a renowned Zionist out there. So kind of no surprise he'd be one to freak out, which is, they say Vance starts giggling as soon as his name's mentioned. So either way, I don't know, I just kind of want to check this out. I want to see how Vance is handling this. This is interesting because this is right back in his wheelhouse, even up to and including like kind of casting shade on like the neocon types. This is where he thrives. So I don't know, something to at least keep an eye on. I'm not sure if this will, it looked like every bit of Vance's like political future was fucked, but if this Iran thing does work out, I actually, and especially with the degree they have hung this about his neck, this could be quite the upset, like politically speaking. And even so far as there's been a lot of murmurs that Marco Rubio has kind of been slowly becoming the appointed one. Obviously, maybe there's a whole bunch of hopium here. Obviously, I don't necessarily hope that Vance gets elected, but I'm just saying, like, the paths that we're on, there's like almost this JD Vance path for the GOP, and then there's this Marco Rubio path, and it really did seem to be tied up into what really ended up working out in this Trump administration. And for example, we had that Venezuela thing, the whole Maduro kidnapping, yada yada, that seemed to kind of go off without a hitch. And we had this like Cuba thing that's supposed to be popping off soon. Still don't know what's happening with that. And we have all this Iran stuff going on. So, and that was kind of up in the air with like, let's be real. Many of the Zionist, neocon types kind of like, if this works out, this would be sold as kind of more in line with the Rubio vision. This would, kind of put more respect on his name, since this is what's being attributed to him. But if we do legitimately see some sort of weird 180, we could really see a return to Vance world, which is a double-edged sword. Obviously, that seems that gives America in some regards more firmly into the hands of the teal folks. So I don't know, it's a mixed bag, but either way, something worth paying attention to. But let's check out this clip. Just as just kind of a funny lead into our foreign policy stuff, and then here you go.
I'm going to give you a shot from Sound on Tape from John Podhoretz, who is the chief over at Commentary Magazine, which is very pro-Israel, very neocon-y. Preview, he's not happy. Here it is.
I honestly don't know if it could be worse. America is going to be in a strategically, tactically, and militarily worse position than it was under Biden. He made a choice to test America's resolve, and he has choked. He has chickened out. He has bled himself dry. Trump, the crazy lunatic psychotic who doesn't care about lives and will do anything, could not bear the idea of putting a boot on the ground anywhere in Iran, and could not bear the idea of a single American possibly being taken hostage, which I understand. I'm not saying that either of those is a good thing, but if you're going to go to war, you have to put boots on the ground. Everyone in the military has volunteered to put their lives on the line for their country, and that the country itself may have to sacrifice in the form of wildly higher oil prices. If you think that the American national interest has to be engaged in this process, and if you go into the process and you lose it, and it's a complete war of choice, you have made things worse. The situation is worse.
Thoughts on that?
Well, there's a lot to respond to in there, but I actually think, John, I appreciate that, because John is kind of giving away the game. He's saying he really doesn't care that much about higher oil prices for Americans, doesn't care about high gas prices, and he wants boots on the ground
and
in a
doesn't
country.
seem to care about casualties.
Exactly. And
man, I called it. This is like smooth as butter right here. Well, it's as smooth as eggs. Just thinking about for anyone who remembers one of Dave Chappelle's old bits, the eggs, like about his balls being like eggs or whatever. I don't know why. That's always been a dumb fucking euphemism. I said smooth as eggs. But anyways, here you go.
And wants boots on the ground and casualties in a country of 95 million people where, again, the President of the United States never said that his goal was to install Reza Pahlavi to become the new leader of Iran.
All right, see, exactly like I said, just kind of perfect. I mean, was that not like a perfect political... and that even for somebody like me, that kind of speaks to me. Like if I was someone if you were trying to give me any sort of hopium for electoral politics or whatever Vance represents, is like, oh, okay. Unfortunately, I'm burdened with great knowledge. And I am aware of what stands behind J.D. Vance. And by that, I mean Peter Thiel with his dick out. But with that, let's go ahead and get into the chat. Say some good mornings. Say some hellos. And then we'll get into some foreign policy. But let's check in on you guys. Michael Manifesto saying, Kitty. Yes, Kitty. Violet is a sweetheart. Good morning. Just Will says, hail Thursday. Hail the fuzzy and not so fuzzy wuzzies. Yes, hail all the fuzzies. Michael Manifesto working night shift, bummer. Hey, I understand the pain. Although I kind of like night shift, and it's like a twist. I mean, it's rough, but like I guess it depends on your career. But generally speaking, it's like night shift is like where you can kind of really get your hands dirty and get shit done, and you don't have to worry about like, I guess depending on the job, management, quality, just where you can really just do shit. You can kind of do some cowboy work. I more worked in like maintenance, sort of a maintenance, construction, stuff like that. The only time I actually worked night shift, now that I think about it, though, is actually only as a crew chief. That's the only job I ever did it. So yeah, that was when you could really get some work done. Fun times, and you can have fun doing it, and you don't have to worry about the leadership breathing down your neck. Good morning, Tom33 saying what's good. Can't say that word. Good morning, John Black says, can we have a memorandum of understanding that the Tate segment is repugnant? Hey, if you guys don't want to come back to the Tate one, what do you mean by repugnant? Like you just don't care? Which I get it, whatever. I mean, I get it was dragging on and on, but it was, I mean, I do think it is one of those stories that gets written off as just like hoes being hoes, and it's like, yeah, I mean, hoes do be being hoes, but like this dude's actually doing some pretty crazy fucked up shit too. So I don't know. It does seem like I don't know. The Tate's ones is a weird one. Maybe it's just there's too much to it, so people do just kind of write it off as just hoes being hoes. But yeah, it looks like there's some sort of sinister underbelly and probably exploiting their connections. Wouldn't be the least bit surprised if there's some sort of minor Epstein figure in the political world, because they are kind of in that realm and in other worlds as well. So if anything, less so probably the political world than in other places. So good morning, Sean Newman. It says, awesome shows you do. Thank you, good sir. Question: military service. An extensive knowledge of, you put Q, okay, extensive knowledge of dirty shenanigans by the U.S. What's the Venn diagram for you between military service and extensive knowledge of dirty shenanigans? Oh, I get it. Like how many people like kind of get in the military and kind of become hip to what's going on, red pilled, whatever word you want to use. I don't know. There are a lot of people that like do, and like I do think that's part of why. Oh yeah, you also said, did you become disillusioned? Thank you for your service too. Yeah. I definitely became disillusioned. You definitely don't have to thank me for my service, but I appreciate the sentiment. But yeah, I mean, you definitely. All I did was take your tax money, and like, I get it somewhat. Where people look at the military as being honorable, but my perspective is kind of like, how do I put it? Like it's. When it comes to, how did I say? I said it pretty well a while ago. I'm trying to like understand. Like I get the sentiment to be like want to show some sort of deference to military members, but if anything, I actually think people really shouldn't. If any, like I don't know, I'm not necessarily saying people should be like nasty, but I definitely don't think. I really do think the deference, that should be pulled back, because the way I view it is it's like that. It's like essentially the military is preying off of that sentiment. That's what it does. Like the very fact that like society has that sentiment is what it's preying off of. The idea that there's something positive happening here. And yes, that's not to say there isn't like an honorable like proclivity that like plays a part into wanting to join the military for many people. But the problem is that that's as you mentioned, disillusioned. Like that is people become disillusioned because that is a disillusion. Like that is an illusion or whatever. I mean, not disillusion, but that is an illusion. Like that is not actually what's occurring. Like you can lie to yourself and say, herder, I'm protecting America, but like really all you're doing is fleecing your, everyone else who's paying their taxes, and you're making the world a worse place for it. So, calling yourself a hero for that, or even really endorsing the ideas that other people do, it's kind of, I mean, I understand, like, yes, the idea is, like, you're a young man, like, we have a drive towards violence, and, like, and that's not even necessarily, like, wrong. Like, that there are ways that could be put to good use, but the problem is, the powers that be, the thugs that run the world, exploit that sentiment and go, hey, come over here, do this thing, and you'll be protecting America. And then, what does every young man want to do other than to protect? I mean, like, we're kind of biologically speaking meant to fucking kill. So it's like, I mean, which there's positive flips on that. Obviously it's protecting those you love, obviously fostering life, caring for it. So anyways, I'm getting off. Now what is the Venn diagram? I guess it's hard to put a number on like there's definitely a lot of people, and kind of to tie this into the disillusionment, I'd say a lot of people probably get disillusioned. I'd say 4 to 8 years in, once you're probably at least an enlistment in, you're kind of like in this middle management realm. And I do think it maybe becomes a little bit more apparent in middle management. You're like, what this is, some of the negatives, incentives, and, when you're just like a knuckle dragger, getting your hands dirty, doing whatever your given job is, it's, whatever. But okay, so that's when most people get disillusioned. You're sort of like kind of trapped in that you've invested a lot of your life in here. You're already however so long into some retirement or towards retirement. That's when people get disillusioned, and there's a lot of those. There are like a lot. I'd say probably in the 50-ish%. There's a lot of miserable people in middle management and even upper management. So yeah, it's hard to put I mean, I'd say like 50-50 around like middle way. And so many of them are even like aware of like, they're not dumb, they've had to, many people in middle management, they've had to get somewhat savvy and learn how to, so these are older people, usually men in like their mid 20s or later by that point too anyway. So like you're kind of at a different point in your life. And I think people realize like, oh fuck, I've been had. Now, obviously, the early first few years, they're young, dumb, and full of cum. It takes a while for a lot of them before it dawns on them, the retardation of it. So I don't know, it's really hard to put a number on the Venn diagram, and it's probably also different depending on your branch. Like even my experience, I was a aircraft mechanic. I didn't really see like war, but even then, my experience was different than like some person working in like there's all sorts of what they call non-essential jobs, silly, but there's also combat jobs. They have much different, experience than that. So it's kind of hard to really put a finger on, but for where I was at, I'd say like among like the like NCO class, I'd say probably around 50-50. Maybe not. If you say extensive knowledge of dirty shenanigans, I guess it depends on how you're qualifying that. I guess maybe more like 30-50, depending on how you're qualifying it. But I'd say most of them around that realm are pretty fucking miserable. Kind of realize how they've been had, but they've kind of have they've put too much time into this, and and also maybe even kind of tied up some of their identity with it too. So. Rough game. Sorry, I know it went a long time for that one, but appreciate the comment. Good morning, aggressively agreeing. Says, I always correlate the wise kids sketch with graping kids. Good morning, Fire Pixie. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's in their blood to chuck women off cliffs down there. They're just sacrificing her. Good morning. Hey, say what now? Good morning. Good morning, user Chadhead. Good morning, JMS. Is morning, Droopers. Good morning, Hotep Beavis. Good morning, Marnamac. Good morning. Good morning. What's we got? Marnamac says, hoes being hoes, Tates being fags. All right, we're getting some feedback on the Tate segment. I don't care about the Tates. I've always thought they're predators. It's interesting the same way as the other pedal rigs are. Yeah, I agree. And this is why, like, obviously I'm not focusing on them as much. I mean, I'm not, like, super intrigued by whatever the Tate stuff is going on. They're not, like, super up my alley. But it's one I've just kind of never really looked into. I've kind of didn't really have a strong opinion. And then a few times we would see tidbits, it would just be, like, an isolated little incident. And I'd be like, well, maybe we could just dismiss that with hoes being hoes, but I think we've kind of beat at least I'm of the opinion, maybe you guys in the chat, and there's some people seem to still be saying hoes being hoes in there. I mean, maybe you're just pointing to specific isolated examples, but I think once we brought all of that together, we did like 5 parts or 4 parts or something. I think most people, if they stuck around for that, are like, yeah, these guys really fucking suck, and like they're definitely, I think it's pretty clear obviously, I don't know if this will ever get proven in the court of law, but I think it's pretty clear to me that they were like on the criminal side of that, like ambiguous what's going on here. And so yeah. But and also there's the interest of like, what does this mean for their connections? Now I do think they are on the lesser side of this. So if it comes down to like, am I going to talk about an Epstein segment or am I going to talk about Tate's? I'm going to prioritize the Epsteins probably 9 times out of 10. So I can get why, like, you guys, my audience, are like, I don't give a fuck about the Tates. I'm sort of in the same position. So maybe we'll kick that to the curb. It seems like that's the way. It seems what most of you guys are saying. Tom says, I look at veterans from the last 20 or so years like they're probably a good dude that got duped into a real shit job for a good chunk of their lives. Yep, exactly. John encouraged me to steal more money to get my VA disability. Yeah, I'm torn on that. I mean, that is one, like, technically you can make the argument, like, you're just getting your money back, so, like, because you're going to pay the taxes anyways. So, I don't know. It just feels gay. Good morning, Free Alley. Appreciate the support. $5 super chat. Big ups. It says, joining the military is a moral equivalent of joining a gang, except worse, because gangs sometimes help people. Yeah, there you go. See? I guess the difference here would be the gang, for some reason in this hypothetical world, everyone's convinced you it's a good and moral thing for you to join that gang. So yeah, pretty similar. Good morning, Nicholas Shackelford says, good morning, my N-words. Good morning to you. We're getting a resounding no more Tate. I think you guys got the idea. I think the message was received. The Tates fucking suck. They're super gay. But yeah, Tom says the Tates are just spreading degeneracy, not blackmailing. I disagree, and we were kind of about to get into that a little bit more. Now I will say, like, you're saying they're not blackmailing the power. I do think they are blackmailing the powerful, but I do think it's probably like to a much lesser degree to like all the other things. But it does seem like they are tapped into that realm. Like, I mean, I didn't see anything in there about explicit prostitution there, but they're running a stable of hoes. Doing their online OnlyFans things, and it's like they're also moving around these criminal. Is it really? I would be blown away if they haven't pimped out one of their chicks in like a real world sort of way. And furthermore, I'd be kind of astounded if they haven't, if it wasn't somebody, of powerful of some sort that like maybe it was. I'm sure they weren't like. Maybe, I mean, actually, I say I'm sure. I wouldn't be least bit surprised with the Tates if it was an explicit blackmail thing. But, like, the blackmail's kind of implicit in a lot of this sort of stuff. So I think when you are, moving around with the Tates, doing stuff, like, if they get you, like, they may do criminal-ish things with you or whatever, or do things that may impugn you. And I don't even necessarily know if, like, the game is necessarily to blackmail you, but the idea is that, like, well, if you ever to turn against them, they know. So... but it may just be happenstance. So like, you're with the Tates, you're fucking hoes, you're doing all sorts of crazy stuff. But it's, it's you being foolish thinking that somehow is going to stay between you guys. I think that's more the point there. But yeah, they're not running no Epstein op, as Tom says. Definitely not. I don't think so. Yes. But I do think it's like, it's a good way to look into to see like how this can happen, how this works. It's a good little window to some degree, I think, especially since they were kind of being retards about it. So a little bit of a good entrance and understanding. And if you just extrapolate from the Tates are doing to a much larger and institutionalized and bigger players, you can kind of figure that out. Anyways, let's move on. Let's get into some foreign policy. Let's get into the latest. I wasn't here yesterday for the morning dump. I did drop a New Year's of Lead episode for you guys, though. I hope you guys enjoyed it. There's still another one behind the paywall, by the way, which was an absolute banger. Look forward to whenever I get around to dropping that. That'll probably be like months from now, as it tends to be. But let's go ahead and get into, like I said, I missed a day. That's what I was getting towards there. I missed a day, so we do have a little bit of catching up to do, but not a ton. It was a little bit of kind of a, not a ton going on, just kind of a little bit of saber rattling / political brinksmanship. Just kind of more of that. Just kind of, the usual with the Iran stuff, but for once, it seems like things are sliding weirdly towards our way, I guess, in the, by our, I mean like the anti-war sort of folks that are like, I don't know, this is really fucking stupid. What are we doing here? Looks like they're moving towards an off-ramp, so that's cool. We're looking at the initial rhetoric changing. Here's a piece. Trump suggests Syria should take care of Hezbollah in Lebanon. Now, obviously, there's multiple ways to look at this, and we definitely will here. There's definitely the appalling, like, holy shit, you're just like, oh, I'll sick Al-Qaeda, the head chopping Al-Qaeda on Lebanon, the largest Christian nation, I believe, in the Middle East. Yeah, that's not at all naked, apparent, like, signaling of corrupt power and what you guys have been doing in the Middle East. Yeah, I'll just sick my Al-Qaeda attack dog on you huge Christian nation. Yeah, but on the flip side, there's also the reasoning that makes this like, why is he saying that? And that right there is quite the slight to our greatest allies. Let's dig into this. Antiwar.com, here's a piece from Dave DeCamp. So President Trump on Tuesday suggested that Syria, which is led by former Al-Qaeda commander Ahmed Sharaa, should take care of Hezbollah in Lebanon instead of in Lebanon rather than Israel. The president said he was not happy with Israel's war in Lebanon, which has been supported by the U.S. due to the tactic of taking out entire apartment buildings, though his Pentagon employed similar tactics in Yemen and was responsible for major civilian casualties in Iran, most notably the bombing of the elementary school in Manab. So just to recap it. So yes, it's like, oh my God, that's awful. But why is he saying this? The reason he's saying this is because he's saying they would do a better job than Israel is doing, who is just kind of wantonly killing in Lebanon. So he is saying the head chopping, Al-Qaeda would be more humane than Israel in dealing with Lebanon. So that in itself is something. Obviously, I don't think that's good if they do that, but Continuing on, actually, I have the clip for you guys. Oh, give me a break. Come on, my little mouse. There we go. Actually, I have the clip for you right here. Let's go ahead and play it. Sorry, my mouse keeps... God damn it. Sorry. It's annoying. My mouse just pooped the bed. I probably got to put a new battery in there. All right, check this out. Here is him saying this. These Lebanon comments. Make sure I still got audio over here. Oh, of course, the audio. God damn it! Whenever one thing happens, it all happens all at once. There you go. All right. Give me 1 second. I gotta take that down. My mouse shit the bed, and as soon as I got my mouse working again, then it pooped the bed again. So I had to use a little laptop-y thing. And as soon as I got that work, oh, okay, cool. Thank you, StreamYard. That's exactly what I need to add to my list. The audio not working. So here we go. We get the audio back up. Sorry for that. One of these days, we'll have a committed producer to the morning dub, but here you go.
What are the expectations for Israel? Can this deal survive if Israel attacks Lebanon?
It can, and I consider that the minor war, Iran's the big one, but we have a little pinprick out there that constantly rears its head, and that's Hezbollah. And, I was very responsible for Syria, and the man that's running Syria now is a person that I put there along with President Erdogan and some others. He's done an amazing job of pulling it together. He's not a Boy Scout, but he's done an amazing job of pulling it together. And he is very good with Hezbollah, does not like them. And I'll tell you what, Israel's fighting Hezbollah too long, and too many people are being killed. And you don't have to knock down an apartment house every time you're looking for somebody, because there are a lot of people in those apartment houses, and they're not all Hezbollah, that I can tell you. And I suggested to Israel to let Syria take care of Hezbollah. Because to be honest with you, I think they do a better job of doing it. And I didn't like Syria. I didn't like where 2 hours before we're signing the agreement that there was an attack in Lebanon, in Beirut. It was right in. It wasn't like in the southern side, and it was in Beirut. I did not like that. I let them know that. I didn't like it, not at all. But I think that Syria, he's pulled that country together amazingly quickly. He's very capable, and he's been very good for me. He's protected everything that I've asked for. He's done. And if Israel can't do the job without killing everyone else, he'll do the job. Syria will do the job.
By the way, that's the Qatari Emir Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. That's quite the name. That is the head of Qatar, I believe. I'm assuming that's what an emir is. But yeah, that's who he was with there. For those who are wondering who he's sitting next to. But interesting stuff. Obviously there's multiple ways to look at that, but it kind of seems like flying in the face of our greatest allies. So interesting at the very least. So Shara, just a little recap on what Syria is and what they're about. So Shara and his group of jihadists known as Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, an offshoot of al-Qaeda, took power in Damascus in December 2024. Ousting President Bashar al-Assad. Shara has been embraced by Trump and visited the White House despite HTS and affiliated fighters being responsible for massacres of Alawites, Druze, and other minorities in Syria. Shara said earlier this month that he had no intention of intervening in Lebanon, saying that what is being circulated about Syria entering Lebanon is nothing more than rumors. I remember, when they first started, with this Iran war stuff, and Israel started attacking Lebanon. I remember that was being floated out. I think if I recall correctly, there was a statement from Trump and a statement from I'm forgetting. I'm not even going to try to remember that. I remember there was a little bit of an interesting back and forth there between world leaders and kind of insinuating they were going to help. And then I think they even started having more issues with Israel when they were like, no, we're not helping. So seemingly connected, but I don't know. Who maybe not. Trump was asked on Tuesday if he was frustrated with Netanyahu over Israel's war in Lebanon, and he said that he wasn't, and that he had a great relationship with Israeli leader, though he added that he didn't like that Israel bombed Beirut's southern suburbs on Sunday, which was seen as an effort to sabotage the U.S.-Iran MOU. I didn't like there was an attack over a very minor little thing with some drones. I saw that attack, and I saw where that bomb went. That was that was too much. You can't do too much also, but we've had a very effective relationship. He says, without the United States, there would be no Israel, which that one's pretty wild too. But without me, there would be no Israel because no other president was willing to do what I did. I had a great relationship with Bibi, but now Bibi has to be more responsible with respect to Lebanon. Now, obviously, until there's like an actual, legitimate thing done as opposed to words, it really doesn't mean much. But either way, as even with me, I've been very cynical about all the different rhetoric we've heard about, multiple times, or the Trump and Bibi administrations are at odds, and it always just like, sources. But now it's getting to the point where it's not even sources say, Barack Ravid says, yada yada. No, it's like legitimate quotes, to public, to like live TV and stuff like. So it's heating up. So it's worth pointing out the rhetoric is intensifying and increasing. So. Interesting. So, moving on. Actually, Iran continues to insist. Let me finish this real quick. Actually, this is important. Iran continues to insist that any deal with the U.S. hinges on an end to Iran or to Israel's war in Lebanon. But Netanyahu said he has no intention of withdrawing. Israel's attacks in the country also continue, killing at least 4 people on Tuesday. So this is a piece I pulled from yesterday's coverage. So obviously covering the previous day. So we'll cover more on what happened Wednesday here in a few when we get to it. But just so you're tracking what's going on. So they did pull back because, it was seemingly like we were covering every day. There was like double-digit deaths over in Lebanon. Now we're getting to single-digit deaths every day. So that Tuesday was no different. Just so you're understanding the chronology of how this plays out, because there's about to be some big moves here in a second I'll let you know about. Continuing on. So the MOU released by the U.S. says enriched uranium. Actually, I'm gonna save that. I think I'm gonna move that to a different spot. I want to cover something else first. I think that it's better to have a different order here. Let's check in on. Sorry, I jumped to the wrong one. Here you go. This is what I want to cover. Trump and Iran's Pezeshkian sign U.S.-Iran MOU. Now this is crazy interesting. The hell, Jeff's freaking out. It's like I don't know what he's even freaking out. Anyways, so I'm going to cover this one first. Trump and Iran's Pezeshkian signed the U.S.-Iran MOU. Now this was supposed to be. It's a little bit confusing because I think today's Thursday. We had a dump on Tuesday. When we talked on Tuesday, what was going on there was apparently the story was that the U.S. had already signed a digital version. And I guess they were going to meet in Friday for, I guess, formalities / maybe even a more maybe like an unofficial signing or so. But apparently, the deal was like we already signed it, so it's already been signed. And this is before they were even really showing anyone the specifics of the MOU. There were some claims out there, although from different publishing houses saying like, "Hey, this is the MOU as far as we know," and there were, all sorts of reports that was up in the air. I think we have, a more complete one that we'll get into here in a moment. But at that moment, that was, that was going on. Like we didn't know, what the specifics of the MOU were, but yet despite even that, Trump had already said that apparently it had been signed digitally, so it was done. There was even reports out there. I don't think we covered this the other day, but there was even reports that. Supposedly, Israel tried to get a copy of the MOU to view it, and apparently they were denied it. So that even more so is like, what's going on here? That's interesting. That's not usually how they play. So he's kind of, before the world even knows the terms of the deal, he's saying, I already signed it. You can get fucked, whatever the deal. You're going to have to just get used to whatever deal I just signed because I'm not bringing anybody else into this. Israel, nobody. And then even furthermore to that, it was like, we're going to have this Friday thing. So there's still this sort of, we can sort of fuck things up because they sort of haven't signed the MOU or whatever, although it's kind of had. Well, even furthermore, more to that case, it seems like there was a pop surprise signing. So I guess Trump went to France. And so now we actually have a joint signing. So even furthermore, so it looks like today we have an actual signing between the two nations. And we also have and it looks like we have the MOU to look at. So we'll cover that here in a few minutes. Then also we're going to be covering some of the shifting rhetoric of the Trump administration, which obviously I think is probably very reflective of whatever the current MOU is. As I've been saying for a while, in order to walk away from this, there were certain crazy, or not even crazy, actually not crazy, pretty reasonable concessions to be, actually all reasonable concessions to be made, but the way that the Trump administration was behaving, the way they were talking, they were making, acting like here's all of our red lines, and pretty much every one of their red lines were all things that were red lines, or the inverse of the red lines for Iran. So it's like, this is not going to happen. The only way we can get past this is if Trump is willing to take some huge concessions that are very, very much not going to be politically viable. Well, it looks like in real time we're seeing the political viability jujitsu happening, and we'll cover some of that here in a moment. But let's cover the MOU signing. So Trump signed the MOU with Iran while in France on Wednesday night, and Iran confirmed that President Masoud Pezeshkian also signed the agreement. Esmail Bagay, Iran's foreign ministry spokesman, said that there will no longer be a formal signing ceremony in Geneva, which was initially scheduled for Friday. So they're not even doing that Friday thing anymore. He said this agreement is now officially in effect, which should mean an end to the U.S. blockade of Iran and an increase in the number of ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz in the coming days and weeks. The U.S. and Iran are also set to begin nuclear negotiations for a period of at least 60 days. Bagay stressed that the MOU included an end to Israel's war in Lebanon, where Israel strikes continued on Wednesday. For us, the ceasefire and end of war in Lebanon were as important in Iran. In the first article of the MOU, Lebanon is mentioned 3 times. Respect for Lebanon's territorial integrity and national sovereignty is included. Earlier on Wednesday, Trump said the MOU between Washington and Tehran was not final and warned the U.S. could return to dropping bombs on Iran if the country didn't behave. It's an MOU. If I don't like it, if they don't behave, we'll go right back to dropping bombs right smack in the middle of their head, okay? Because they've misbehaved for 47 years, the president told reporters on the sidelines of the G7 summit in France while meeting with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, according to the AP. Trump said the deal is a great deal for a lot of reasons and appeared to suggest that what has been published in the media is not the actual text by saying that nobody knows what it is, though later U.S. officials released the full MOU. It was very similar to what was published in Al Arabiya a day earlier. So we'll go through that here in a few. The president also acknowledged in his remarks that if the U.S. continued the blockade in Iran and the Strait of Hormuz remained closed, it would cause a worldwide depression. Iranian media report on Wednesday that since the announcement of the MOU, 11 ships have been able to break through the U.S. blockade, including 8 that departed Iranian ports and 3 that arrived in Iran. The U.S. military issued a notice to mariners on Monday saying the blockade was still in place and advising ships not to cross the area until explicit direction is given. So we still have a lot. Obviously, we're going to be touching more on the Lebanon stuff here in a bit. So obviously, that's still a crazy up in the air. That's a huge barrier to where we're trying to go here. Also the blockade. So kind of, there's been at least twice now he said he was going to end the blockade and then didn't when he said he was going to. So is he going to this third time? Is third time a charm? We'll see. One thing I did want to hone in real quick on, for those who didn't catch that, apparently this was in Versailles, which I think it's worth pointing out. This person says the symbolism of Trump signing a surrender agreement at Versailles in which the U.S. agrees to pay massive reparations is just too perfect, so I do think it's worth pointing out. Now, here's a video of Trump signing it. There's not really, I don't know if he says anything necessarily here, but just to, here's the receipts. He is doing it, but this is Trump in Versailles, which for those who know your World War history, pretty significant.
This was not easy.
There was a big treaty that played a big part in all of that, so just find it interesting. So there you go. There's Trump signing it. He's signing this agreement. We'll get into the specifics of the agreement here in a little bit. Well, let's get into some of the shifting rhetoric first off to kind of, to prepare for our coverage of the MOU. So keep in mind, these were all things he was probably out here saying before this full MOU was released. So probably a little bit tied together. I have a feeling that all these different little these little videos or things we're seeing at may end up, being involved in the deal or whatever. And be like, oh, okay, that's why he said that. But Apparently, Trump has said Iran has to have some ballistic missiles. So let's check this clip out. Here you go. Here he is saying just that, which keep in mind, that was one of the big things is their missile program is one of the big reasons why we had to start this in the first place. There was the shifting pretext. That was one of the major ones. I mean, hell, even the nuclear one got like tied up in it because it was this whole like nonsensical argument that like, well, because of their missiles, they can... I mean, it's actually kind of a true argument. It was like a playing with words thing. They're like, but because of their missiles, they've created a defense for their possible budding nuclear program. And the way that... I forget how they use the language there, but essentially they like found this way to tie the fact that, look, whatever, like just like every other nation has, typically a missile program to be able to defend at the very least their borders. Anyways, yeah. Let's watch the clip. Here's Trump. Let's see him shifting on this.
So we'll be working on a parallel effort with the Gulf nations to address non-nuclear issues such as the conventional ballistic missiles, which we'll be talking about, and support. I mean, they have to have some because other people have some. You got to have some. Somebody said you shouldn't give them one. I mean, I have guys. I like some of these guys, but I don't think they're smart. Sir, you shouldn't let them have any missile. I said, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to let Saudi Arabia have missiles, but they can't have them? Yes, sir. It doesn't work that way, It doesn't work that way. And missiles aren't the problem. They hurt a little location, but they don't blow up the planet.
Dude, man, the faces behind him here. It's so great. Once again, Lutnick, the faces. Lutnick behind him is just like, just looks so fucking pissed. So pissed. Like, it looks like Trump had just banged his girl and they were forced to be into some sort of professional environment together or something. And he just has to keep it together. And you got Marco Rubio. Like, in this clip, he's like, essentially he's having this back and forth between this made up imaginary, staffer or whoever, somebody who's working for him or advising him or something. And the funny thing is he has Marco Rubio right behind him. And this literally is basically Marco Rubio. Like, that is like, I'm pretty sure Marco Rubio is the one who came out and that like whole Iran, that nuclear, whatever, like weird rhetorical fucking shish kebab he made there to sell that. He somehow like connected the fact they have a missile program to the fact that they could maybe theoretically have a nuclear thing and the missile stuff protects it. So it was Rubio that was selling that hot crock of shit. So this imaginary person Trump's having this back and forth with is like literally right behind him. So it's pretty great. This is the sort of stuff we're going to see here. Here's another clip of him saying more of the same about the ballistic missiles. So here you go.
Yeah. In the press conference, you said you don't mind Iran having ballistic missiles. Can you elaborate on that? I want to make sure we understand your position.
No, I'm saying that if other countries have them, it's a little bit unfair for them not to have some. A ballistic missile is not the same thing as what we're talking about when we talk nuclear. But if Saudi Arabia and Qatar and they all have some, I would say in relative proportion, I think it's okay. That's what I mean.
So we're in real time seeing the U.S. pretty much soften on basically what was essentially all of their red lines. Let's dig a little bit more into that Marco Rubio lore I was telling you about. Here's our antiwar.com from Dave DeCamp. More from his piece over here. He says, Iran's ballistic missile program was frequently cited by senior U.S. officials as one of the reasons why the U.S. launched the war. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who was standing alongside Trump at the G7 summit, told reporters in the first days of the bombing campaign that one purpose was to destroy Iran's missile capability, something Trump also vowed to do when announcing the first wave of airstrikes. We're going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally again obliterated, Trump said on February 28th. But now the president appears to have realized the goal isn't achievable as Iran's missile capability withstood the heavy U.S.-Israeli bombing campaign. According to recent media reports, U.S. intel estimates say that Iran retains more than 70% of its missiles and missile launchers. In his remarks on Wednesday, the president appeared to make fun of his aides who were still insisting that Iran must give up its ballistic missiles. So that was what we caught right there. And he was asked later. Okay, so just more. We played those clips. But I just wanted to cover, how they've been behaving in the past, and this is the rhetoric we're getting from Trump now, which I'm happy about it, but I'm going to at least point it out. And then more, one of the other big things that's kind of been a barrier to any sort of movement in this deal has been the whole oh, Trump or Obama gave them pallets of cash, from the old the JCPOA deal, the Obama deal. It's all the MAGA or all the Republicans out there, the boomer Republicans. Oh, they gave them billions. Well, that was their money. That was money that was stolen from them when the U.S. essentially initiated sanctions, and we are in the exact same situation once again. So this is a whole deal of a lot of this money. This is what comes into this deal. Pretty much every time they've talked about. This has been one of those things that I don't know if I necessarily say it's a red deal or not red deal, but a red line for Iran. But you could probably almost call it this. Essentially, getting their money back. The idea is like, hey, if we're gonna have a deal, if we're doing some sort of diplomatic back and forth, how about you give us the fucking money you stole like forever ago? That's what this is. So it's kind of pretty much a given that was going to be in the deal with Iran, no matter what. But it was always you see Trump always gloating or giving the Obama deal shit. That was one of the many reasons why he was like, oh, my deal is gonna be so much better, when the JCPOA deal was actually pretty dope. So. Especially comparatively to what we're probably going to end up getting. So this was one of his like sticking points of like, he almost like just can't have that because he needs to have something to differentiate it between his deal and the Obama deal. And even now we're seeing softening on the language. Looks like maybe it finally got through Trump's thick head that, oh wait, this is money that we stole. So now listen to Trump's rhetoric now. It's very much has shifted.
Explain though what the difference is between giving Iran U.S. dollars and unfreezing U.S. dollars.
Well, the unfreezing, that's an easy one to answer. We have taken a lot of their money, and we have their money. We have taken their money. It's not our money. It's their money, and we froze it. At a certain point in time, I guess we're going to have to give it back. If we didn't give it back, nobody would ever invest in the dollar again. If you took their money, because I thought about it. I'm not the most perfect person. I said to Scott, why do we keep their money? What the hell are we giving it back to them? But people from lots of nations, some nations we don't agree with, they have their money. The dollar's become very strong under me. And they don't want to have a little conflict with somebody and end up having the United States just take their money. So if you do that, you really don't have a system.
All right, so softening on that, great, hell yeah. Looks like maybe a little bit of softening on both sides here in this last story I have along this lines before we full on just get into what the MOU says. But here's another piece from Dave DeCamp. It says a 14-point U.S.-Iran MOU, which officials detailed to reporters on Wednesday, said that under the potential deal, Iran's enriched uranium would be downblended on site, as the U.S. had backed off on its demand to take it out of the country. So this seems to be the compromise they've come to here, is a downblending. The MOU states that we've agreed to resolve the disposition of stockpiled enriched material pursuant to a mechanism that will be mutually agreed upon in accordance with the schedule mentioned in paragraph 7 with the minimum methodology to be downblending on site under the supervision of the IAEA. So I don't have any clips ready for you guys today, but you guys may have already seen some of the clips going around of Trump like talking down the whole, because he's kind of boomered it up about, oh, the nuclear dust throughout all of this, and we're going to get their enriched uranium, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do. So he's been backing that off lately, kind of. I think his latest line has been like, it's not even worth that much. It's probably only like $500,000. It's very clearly way under the ground. Like we put a mountain down on it. So like whatever. So those are all reasonable points. Those are all things we were saying a long time ago when he was insisting that we absolutely need to go get the fucking nuclear dust. So good to see him coming around. But this looks like the compromise they've come to here is, okay, we'll downblend it. So they've offered to downblend it. It's uranium enriched to 60%. So launched enriched at the 60% level before the U.S. launched the war. Something Oman's foreign minister, who was mediating U.S.-Iran negotiations, told U.S. media the day before the first U.S. strikes hit Iran. Trying to see if they gave like a specific. And so I think it's currently at 60, right? Or is it below 60? So that down blended at the 60% level. So I think they're taking from 60 to somewhere lower. I'm sure we'll get more information on this soon, but this looks like the compromise we're getting now. So let's go ahead and get into the actual legit MOU. Here is it's from Axios. This is what they've released, the Trump administration. So as delivered by a senior administration official in a briefing with reporters. There you go. According to the U.S. Or to the Trump administration. So here we go. Let me see. It says, because the print text has not been released, this transcript may be inexact, for example, in terms of punctuation. So if there are any minor things here, keep in mind this is what some reporter essentially transcribed from what they heard. So, but number one, the USA and Iran and their allies in the current war, by signing this MOU, declare the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon. So that's literally number one, and it's within the first sentence mentioning Lebanon. So, and undertake from now on to not initiate any war or any military operation against each other, and to refrain from the threat of or use of force against each other, and ensuring the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon. The final deal will confirm the permanent termination of the war on all fronts, including in Lebanon, and other provisions of this paragraph. So that was Lebanon mentioned 3 times in the first piece there. So that's I think they're being extremely explicit. Lebanon is the thing here that has got to stop. USA and Iran undertake to respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity, and to refrain from interfering in each other's internal affairs. 3, USA and Iran commit to negotiating and achieving the final deal in a maximum of 60 days, extendable by mutual consent. 4, immediately upon the signing of this MOU, the USA will begin the removal of its naval blockade, so they're supposed to be starting this already, and any disturbances or impediments against Iran, and will fully end the naval blockade within 30 days. So they have 30 days. During this period, the traffic of vessels will be in proportion to the numbers of pre-war traffic being restored by Iran. USA further undertakes to remove its forces from the proximity of Iran within 30 days of the final deal. Upon signing the MOU, Iran will make arrangements using its best efforts for the safe passage of commercial vessels and vice versa, or commercial vessels and no charge for 60 days only from the Persian Gulf to Sea Oman and vice versa. So keep in mind that 60 days only, that's key. So they did get to where they're not doing tolls right now, but keep in mind they're in this essentially in a negotiation period. So these are the terms of the initial negotiation. They have 60 days to come to a final agreement. But currently they're not taking tolls. But keep in mind the wording there, so I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if tolls are something that are thrown around in negotiations here. And also, whenever there are any sort of what am I trying to say? Any infringements on the ceasefire? Why infringements? It's a retarded word. I can't think of a better word there. But I guess the infringements on the ceasefire. That this would be something they could immediately put into place. Obviously, shutting the thing back down. Obviously, then we'd likely then shift back into a blockade from the United States. But point being, this is always something they can throw back into flux at any time. So, and it's probably going to be part of the negotiation. The traffic of commercial vessels will immediately start, and considering their need for removing the technical and military obstacles and demining Iran will be instated within 30 days. Iran will conduct dialogue with the Sultanate of Oman to define the future administration of maritime services in the Strait, in discussion with other Persian Gulf littoral states, in line with the applicable international law and the sovereign rights of coastal states of the Strait of Hormuz. The USA undertakes with regional partners to develop a definitive, mutually agreed plan with at least $300 billion for the reconstruction and economic development of the Islamic Republic of Iran. So we're also there. I didn't even mention that before. There's the additional $300 billion that we're going to owe them essentially for reparations. Now they are, you see the language there with regional partners. So this is how, and we've already seen Vance have to answer for this on his circuit. And he's essentially, this is how he's kind of danced around it too. This idea of we're not paying them. It's strained with our regional partners or through the. It's going to be some finagling of that. But either way, $300 billion is going to them somehow. The mechanism of this plan will be finalized as part of a final deal within 60 days. All required license waivers and permissions needed for the relevant financial transactions will be granted by the USA. 7, USA undertakes to terminate all types of sanctions. So they're going to cut up sanctions. I'm going to start cutting these a little bit shorter, by the way. You guys could check this out on your own time. So terminating sanctions, which that's a huge one as well. So, but that's great. 8, the Islamic Republic of Iran reaffirms that it shall not procure or develop nuclear weapons. And now they put in there, I'm not going to read this all again, but they literally mentioned in there at one point there's a word reaffirm, so they make a point, or they actually, never mind, I already read it. The Islamic Republic of Iran reaffirms. This is the thing that you keep hearing Trump and maybe even Vance going around saying that we got them to agree they're never going to have a nuke. They're reaffirming that. This is what they're talking about, which is that was their stance the whole time through all of this before they even killed their leader. That was what the previous leader, his whole thing was like, if anything, you were in a bit better situation before because now they don't have a religious edict against it, whereas before, because the other guy was their religious like top dog, he had a religious edict and it died with him. So, but either way, yes, that's kind of been forever their stance. So 9, paying the final deal, the U.S. and Iran agree to maintain the status quo. Iran will maintain the status quo of its nuclear program, and USA will not impose any new sanctions and will not deploy additional forces in the region. That's pretty big, too. 10, USA undertakes immediately upon the signing of the MOU and until the termination of sanctions, the U.S. Department of Treasury will issue waivers for the export of Iranian crude oil, petroleum products, and derivatives and all associated services, including banking transactions, insurances, transportation, etc. 11, USA undertakes to make fully available for use the frozen or restricted funds and assets of Iran upon the implementation of the MOU. The USA and the Iran will mutually agree on the procedures related to the release of these funds during the negotiations. So this is what I was talking about before, the frozen funds. So there you go. U.S. and Iran, 12, agree that an executive mechanism will be established to monitor the successful implementation of this MOU and the future compliance of the final deal. 13, after signing this MOU and subject to the beginning of the implementation of paragraphs 1, 4, 5, 10, and 11, and the continuing implementation, the U.S. and Iran will start negotiations regarding the final deal exclusively on the other paragraphs. The final deal will be endorsed by binding UNSC resolutions. Okay, that's all of it. So if this actually ends up being a thing, hell yeah, that's cool. Moving on past this, continuing on what's going on with the U.S., we got another murder over in the ocean on the high seas, over in the Eastern Pacific this time around, bombed another drug boat. Once again, just a snuff video, no proof, no nothing, just another murder on the high seas. So nothing new, but something that is interesting, kind of looking at this. Apparently, there's a Pentagon official that admits one of these strikes may have actually killed human trafficking victims. So that's wonderful. I mean, to be fair, I guess to the powers that be, that gives a little bit more credence that they were involved in, like, you know, because of herder narco-terrorism. I guess this gives some more umbrage to that. Like, okay, well, maybe they were narco-terrorists. One would assume a narco-terrorist is probably also trafficking humans. But on the other side, it's like, this is like, okay, well, this doesn't help when you murder their victims. So, yeah, here's one of these boats. There was a ton of people on it, and a lot of people made a big deal about it. You see, what's this? 5, 6, 7, 11 bodies in this one little boat. And so I guess one of these officials will come out and goes, "Yep, that would make sense if that was human trafficking victims." So let me see if I can find the specific quote. Why would 11 people be on board a boat carrying drugs? Said a government source who attended a classified briefing with a large crew in the first boat attack was discussed. It's a high risk for the cartels that always stood out. Let me see. Trying to see if I can find it. In the briefing, the high-ranking officer and the Pentagon's joint staff stated that some of the people killed by the U.S. military may have been the victims of human trafficking. So way to go, guys. Good job. Now, over on the Israeli side of things, we got this story. So apparently, Israeli Air Force chief says major attack on Iran was called off last week. So I'm assuming one of the times Trump tried to rein him in, maybe there was some actual reining. You never know how legit that is or not. So the head of the U.S. or the Israeli Air Force said that a major strike in Iran using the entire Air Force was called off last week after Iran bombed northern Israel in response to Israel strikes. Israel did launch strikes against Iran following the Iranian attack, but according to media reports, Netanyahu scaled down the strikes after a call with Trump, who initially said he would tell Israel not to respond at all. The chief of staff, Omer Tishley, did claim that Israel hit dozens of targets in Iran on Monday, June 8th, but added that a much larger operation didn't go forward. So, I mean, this is why I'm like, I don't even know how true this is. This could just be like well, this is what we were going to do anyway, so we'll just act like we were going to do a whole lot more. Who knows? So the entire Air Force is ready to take off for a broad strike sortie. Yeah, sure, maybe. This basically means nothing. It's a Israeli official saying something. This is useless. But we can pay attention to their actions. And the most recent in what's going on in Lebanon, they killed 2 people. The previous 24 hours. This was over Wednesday. So at least 2 people were killed as Israeli artillery continued to shell southern Lebanon. And reports were that Israeli ground troops advanced further north into Lebanese territory as the conflict continues to be a major stressor on the U.S.-Iran peace deal. The number of Israeli strikes in Lebanon seemed to markedly decline on Monday, giving people high hopes the war might indeed be winding down, though by Monday afternoon, Israeli officials were vowing the war would continue and deadly strikes picked up again on Tuesday. Multiple drone strikes were reported in the Tyre district, causing injuries to locals, though airstrikes and artillery seemed to focus on the Nabatea district. So we still got Israel popping off. I don't know how this is going to work out. I mean, it's hard to believe they are going to actually, it's very clear in the MOU that, not only do they need to stop firing, they need to get the fuck out. And they've already occupied a ridiculous amount of Lebanon. So it's pretty unbelievable that they're going to back out. And even more to this, we got Ben Gvir saying that Israel cannot stop destroying houses in southern Lebanon. So insisting they've just got to keep destroying houses, no matter what. This is what he says. He said, Israel cannot stop the demolition of houses in southern Lebanon. We simply cannot stop. That's all, Ben Gvir said, according to Turkey's Anadolu agency. So we cannot allow the residents of southern Lebanon to return. We must continue to control the territory. Even if we disagree with Trump, we are an independent state. So be interested to see how this plays out. I mean, does this mean we're going to leave them to their own devices, financially start to cut them off in some way? Because I really, according to the MOU, it's not even, it doesn't even leave a third option of we cut them off or whatever. It's just you will get them in line, basically. Now, let's be real. If we did, I feel like if we came to Iran and was okay, we're going to cut off X, Y, and Z, they'd probably be willing to deal. They'd probably be open to that idea. And that could lead to an interesting new paradigm over in the Middle East. Am I saying that's going to happen? No, not necessarily. We'll see. Also, checking in on Gaza, we'll do, this is from the other day. So not yesterday, but the day before. So what was it, Tuesday? So on Tuesday, there was 2 Palestinians killed in Gaza by airstrikes. So once again, go ahead and let Dave Rubin know there was airstrikes that day. So still continuing violations. So 2 Palestinians who were killed were brothers, identified as Ahmad and Mahmoud Abu Hin, and they were killed near the Nusayr refugee camp. Photos show their young children mourning their father. So that's just wonderful. They also reported the Israeli troops are expanding the Yellow Line, the vague boundary that separates Gaza from the rest of the Strip. Another clear violation of the ceasefire deal, the Israeli-occupied side from the rest. And then today, or yesterday, over Wednesday, they hit the 1,000 mark. So, Israeli attacks in Gaza since the so-called ceasefire deal was signed in October 2025 have now killed more than 1,000 Palestinians. So under a ceasefire, they somehow managed to kill 1,000 people. As the IDF has continued its constant violations of the agreement, Health Ministry said that over the previous 24 hours, Israeli attacks killed 2 Palestinians in Gaza, and 6 Palestinians who succumbed to wounds from previous strikes were added to the death toll, bringing the total number of Palestinians killed since the deal was signed to 1,005. So we'll see. And I think if there is any sort of success in pulling them back from Lebanon, unfortunately, we'll see an increase over in Gaza. With that, let's roll in the chat. Man, we spent a lot of time on foreign policy. I may actually have to cut the grape gangs till tomorrow. But hey, it just gives me more segments. I have segments going into next week now. We just have too much going on all at once. But let's roll to the chat, say some hellos. I think I already said good morning to you, Nicholas Shackford. But I think this is. I think we've got enough feedback that we're over the Tates. Says, I enjoyed your Tate coverage, but I'm all indeed over it at this point. So, yeah, he says, it's worth reiterating how inorganic the Tate types become popular and pushed by the algos because they obviously want gay pedo shit to be associated with manhood. So, nailed it. Yeah. So I think we're done with it. I mean, I might find time to read on my own time. I'm not going to lie. It's me being a little bit selfish because I don't really want to have to take my own time to read it. So we can read it on the show. But there's just too much going on. We got to prioritize other stuff. So, if we do just get enough of a drip feed, although let's be real, I'm not going to jump back into the middle of like a multi-piece something like a month later after we finally get through all the other crazy stuff that's probably about to happen in the next few weeks. So I guess the Tates just disappear. But either way, I think we covered enough to kind of make the point. So, good morning, Uncle Ted. Says $300 billion the taxpayers won't have to pay. Don't believe it. Exactly. It says good looking new logo, Jose. Or you mean in the what logo? I'm thinking you mean like the backdrop or whatever. Yeah, I like it. I think who made that? Someone made that. That wasn't Namrock, was it? Maybe it was Namrock. I think someone made that just with AI, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm keeping. I think it might have been Namrock. If it wasn't Namrock, I'm sorry. Feel free to chime in, and I will give you your ups. I'm sorry, I forgot who did it. Let me see. Will the Rothschilds fund an Iranian Hitler after the Versailles Agreement? Stay tuned. Yeah. Although I would think that if that were the case, that would make it a USA Hitler, right? Because although the parallel is not really perfect, because I mean this MOU, like if actually done and actually like followed through with it, actually I think would work well for both sides. I actually think it would be beneficial for the United States. So this isn't like, while it is interesting, as worth pointing out, like, holy shit, they're doing it at Versailles. Versailles, from my understanding, the treaty with Germany was like, it fleeced the fuck out of them and then put them in a really shitty economic situation, thus leading to World War II. I mean, hell, World War I and World War II can really be probably more better understood as one big conflict. But either way, like, but with, it's not the same in that way. So, like, in the sense that, like, neither of these countries are really being like destroyed per se, or like financially, or essentially getting bent over and fucked. I mean, like the ego of the Trump administration might be getting bent over. I mean, this is very much like the way they defined their terms for victory. They've definitely fucking lost. So like by every fucking stretch of the imagination they have. So, but so far as like actual real world, like, you know, how this affects the people, how this affects the world. I mean, yeah, I'm saying certain swamp creatures, this is not going to work out as well for them, but generally everybody, it's going to work out better. So yeah, not as good, but even then, I guess if you were going to make that, it would be the USA Hitler here. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Good morning, Nevskis. Good morning, Hispanicans. I like that. Let me see. What else? Did I ever say good morning to you, John Black? I think I did. But he said Trump surrendering to Iran is going to be a W until Bibi fucks it up. Can't wait to talk about how bad this goes on Tuesday. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not at all like, well, I am astounded, but at the same time, I also would not, I'd be like, if tomorrow somehow Israel fucks it all up, or if they do, like, you know, somehow, you know, pull something, but I don't know, a lot of signs here point to, I don't know, it seems like the USA side of things, it seems to be pretty serious about this. I don't know. I'm interested. We'll see how this goes. Shackelford saying he believes the fatwa against nukes still stands after the Ayatollah dies. I don't think it's been overturned, and they don't exactly have anyone who even can. Okay, I guess I just maybe have a faulty understanding of how the fatwas work there. I assumed it like lived and died with him. But it says they don't even exactly have anyone who can at the moment. Calling off the tax sounds like, oh, never mind. I think those are two separate thoughts. Tom says the Tates might be worth an episode of their own instead of segments. The problem is the piece is too long. And I mean, like, maybe if I didn't, yeah, I guess it would be good for, yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, that may be the way to do it. But the problem is, like, I'd have to, like, solo it, and I don't know. I don't really care for, maybe you might have a good, maybe you got something there. Maybe I'll have to read on my own time. Maybe figure out some sort of solo. Maybe if I can find somebody, a guest who's that's their shtick. I don't know. We'll figure out something. A good idea. Something to sit on, because I don't feel like I'm quite. I do want to dig more. I don't feel like I'm quite done. But like, yeah, we do got to stop here. There's other stuff to talk about. Waiting for Trump to tell Bibi to stop chimping out. Aggressively agreeing says he thinks Iran is conceding. They reverted back to the U.S. dictating their foreign policy / weapon enrichment. I I don't know. Like, it looks like we're like all of. I don't know. I actually disagree. I disagree with that big time. I mean, sort of. I mean, obviously there's bending on both sides. It seems here, but dictating foreign policy, like they're dictating our foreign policy according to the MOU, and I think it may even have implied this is probably going to be the case after it. Like, they don't want any more increased presence in the region. And that means the fucking entire Middle East. And we have a shitload of bases there, and we have a bunch of bases that have already also sustained a pretty extensive amount of damage during all of this. So, so the idea would be like you wouldn't even be able to like repopulate your bases. So I don't know. I think if anything, they're dictating it. Now, the weapon enrichment, like, yeah, they're nuclear, sure, but they never, the only purpose they had for the enrichment to begin with was simply so that they didn't end up being another Gaddafi sort of thing. Like, they got to have something leverage-wise, nuclear. That's the only thing they've really had it for. But they're missiles, so they're allowed to keep, it sounds like they're going to be allowed to keep their missiles because that's retarded otherwise. They don't really have much of foreign policy. I don't think there was anything in there at all, because I know when we first started this, there was like all the talk about like, well, if Iran's going to surrender, then they need to cut off all their aid to the Hezbollah and this and that and this and that. And I don't think there was any of that language in the MOU that I recall just a minute ago. So I don't think that there's anything there dictating the Iran's foreign policy. If anything, it seems like Iran's dictating our foreign policy. Maybe I'm misreading it. I don't know. Maybe you're right. I mean, they're definitely, both sides are conceding in some regard, but it definitely looks more like the U.S. is conceding than Iran to me. Yeah, Tom says, I'd like a summarized to regular length Tate episode. Okay, maybe something to sit on. Maybe I can find a guest that's in the Tate world, and we can kind of discuss some of the finer points of it. All right, with that, guys, we're already at an hour 20. We spent way too much time on foreign policy today. Probably have to cut out the Grape Gang's coverage. Probably just talk about the Teal Secret Society. But let's get into it. Recently there was some information dropped. I think it was Wired. I'm not quite sure. We'll see who was the original one to drop it. But there was some investigative reporting that went on there that seemed to figure out that Pure Teal has a secret society. It's invitation only. A bunch of these names have been leaked. Some of the details of what this group is all about and the like. But so let's dig into it. Got a little clip for you to start it off with. Here you go. Something's up with this. Give me a second. I'm going to refresh it. It's being weird. Here you go. All right.
Why is everybody not talking about this immediately? Let's just go through a couple of the greatest hits. We have self-proclaimed health guru Peter Attia. We have Scott Bessent, the Secretary, U.S. Treasury. Sarah Bond, the president of Xbox at Microsoft. Mike Cannon Brooks, the co-founder and co-CEO of Atlassian. Michael Bronstein, chief product officer of Roblox. Bob Cialdini, the author of the book Influence, very well-known book. We have the co-founder and chairman of Intuit, co-founder and COO of Oklo, executive chairman of LinkedIn, that's of course Reid Hoffman. Sam Harris, Joseph Gordon-Levitt somehow got an invite. We got Tim Ferriss for their propaganda wing. Ted Cruz, of course, is in the club. He's a good, obedient little senator. Looky there. There's our fraud, Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson is in there, ladies and gentlemen. Jared Kushner, of course, gets an invite. Neil Mohan, the CEO of YouTube, which is why this video is going to be extremely suppressed. They do not want us talking about this. Elon Musk is, of course, a member. Fraudster Chamath is in there. That's, again, part of the propaganda wing with the All In podcast. Daniel Pink, part of the propaganda wing. Steven Pinker, propaganda wing. Eric Schmidt, who, if you're starting to doubt this list, just gave a graduation speech at University of Arizona. We reported on that here, where all of these students booed him every time he mentioned how AI is the new way of doing things, pushing one of their initiatives. Kim Scott, propaganda wing, author of Radical Candor. Whoa. Hold up. I got one more name that didn't make a lot of the articles going out about this today, and that name's a little contentious, which is why people aren't talking about it. Jeffrey Epstein was emailing about dialogue back in 2014. It looks like couple of folks in his circle were invited to Dialogue 2014. They asked him, is this worthwhile? He replies, Sundance is nice. Go. And then also says, so let me understand, you're suggesting tourism. So we don't know if he went, if he was invited. It looks like a couple of people in his orbit were invited.
All right, that's the end of that clip. Cut off there a little bit abruptly. Sorry for that. Let's get into the piece over at Wired I have for you guys here today. Dig a little bit into the specifics of this secret society. So here's over at Wired of Peter Thiel's Secretive Dialogue Society, DIALOG. That's how it's spelled there, dialogue. So more than 200 of the world's elites registered for a retreat whose agenda runs from panels on cult building and sex to prepping for World War III. An associated app offers matchmaking. So this is why shit like this is like, obviously you're not necessarily compromised by immediately, like you're not like objectively compromised, I guess would be the word here to use, by, essentially what's the word I'm looking for? Socializing with Peter Thiel. Let's say you go to a dinner, many people have, but this is, let's be real. This is why, much like the same thing goes for Epstein. And you look at that, but you look at the people. It's not necessarily a crime to socialize. It's also not necessarily mean that you're a baddie if you're socializing with Epstein. To some degree, that's part of the shtick. They're intentionally trying to branch out and meet other people. And let's be real, they're trying to filter who they can bring closer and closer and closer into their inner circle, looking, kind of selecting that way. So but the same degree, it is worth at least looking over and kind of side-eyeing people who are socializing with the Thiels of the world. Daryl Cooper. But a trove of internal records from a secret society for powerful figures in U.S. politics, finance, and tech was left exposed online, Wired has confirmed, naming participants in its events and revealing sensitive personal details they were assured would stay private. The group, called Dialogue, is a private, invitation-only organization funded in 2006 by the billionaire tech investor Peter Thiel. It convenes U.S. officials, foreign government figures, and Silicon Valley executives at off-the-record annual retreats. Dialogue has spent 2 decades declining to disclose its members. A directory in the website's code was first revealed by the Swiss hacktivist Maya Arsen-Cremieux. Known for exposing the U.S. government's no-fly list and breaching the surveillance camera company Verkada, Cremieux, tells Wired this directory surfaced via an anonymous tip. Wired independently verified its content. So this is some sort of online hacking thing. Okay, some hacktivist group. Hell yeah. The source separately provided Wired with the registration list for Dialogue's 2026 retreat, which names 222 people and records what the list describes as each registrant's membership status and attendee type, including active member and guest. The retreat is scheduled for August 12th to 16th at a venue near Dublin, Ireland. The same data lays out a program of off-the-record sessions, including Money Does Buy Happiness, Bring Back Nuclear, Navigating World War III, Battlefield Technologies, and How's Your Sex Life? Other talks include Build a Cult, moderated by the founder of the Christian networking site Pray.com, and Build a Party, run by a former White House national security official. Together, alongside... Now, I do want to re-emphasize actually a real couple of things before I just skim right on past there. How's your... think about all these different topics, and then build a cult. That's also, that's crazy on the nose. So they're talking about how to build cults here, which, who knows? Maybe that's ironic or something. And then also, how's your sex life and all of this? Which, hey, there's nothing wrong with having a good sex life. That's what a lot of people want. It's just, given the context here, it's like, what the fuck are we... even if it is just we're going to talk about our sex, we're all going to talk amongst each other. It's like, is this really the sort of people you want to divulge that sort of sensitive information, be talking about this sort of things about? I don't know. It just seems a little weird to me. Together, alongside the mundane fare of a typical thought leadership conference, the documents show an extraordinary convergence of power. The registration records list General Alexis Grinkowicz, NATO's Supreme Allied Commander, Europe, and the head of U.S. European Command, who took the post in July 2025 and is recorded in the leaked list as having attended dialogue gatherings since 2021. The website directory names sitting Trump administration officials, 2 U.S. senators, 6 members of the PayPal mafia, a former Middle East chief of intelligence, and a sitting ambassador of the United States, along with the founders and directors of many of the country's largest surveillance data broker and advertising data companies. Those executives appear side by side with senior U.S. officials overseeing their industries. Armin Hoffman, Dialogue's chairman, founded the location data broker SafeGraph and the identity resolution firm LiveRamp, 2 of the most important suppliers in the consumer data economy. He appears in the directory alongside Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, whose department writes the rules of financial data, and Senator Ted Cruz, chairman of the Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee, which oversees the Federal Trade Commission and its data privacy authority. Palantir co-founder Joe Lonsdale, we've talked about him a few times recently. Joe Lonsdale, remember he was the guy picking on that 19-year-old kid. We must dox him, prove what a strong Jew you are. Whose software runs case management for U.S. immigration and customs enforcement and data fusion for the Pentagon and intelligence community, is listed in the same society as Army Secretary Dan Driscoll and Representative Jim Himes, and ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, which oversees agencies Palantir's contracts with. None of the individuals named in this list responded to requests for comment. Rafi Grinberg, who lists himself as Dialogue's executive director on his LinkedIn profile and is the author of the self-help book How to Be a Grown-Up, did not respond to requests for comment. The registration records appear to show not only who belongs to Dialogue, but who attends. Of the 222 people signed up for the 2026 retreat, according to leaked records, 87 are marked as first-time attendees. Other list histories stretching back more than a decade, and a handful of the society stretching 20 years ago. None of the registrants, Grinkowicz included, used a government email address. All registered with personal or corporate email or accounts, placing their attendance outside the email system subject to public records laws. What ties the roster together more than any title or office is a shared preoccupation with artificial intelligence, longevity, and the near future. Asked on a sign-up form to predict the future, registrations returned again and again to the same theme. The AI will reorder work, war, education, and belief within a few years. Several foresee mass labor displacement and a swing back toward unions and government programs. Others predict an AI winter, domestic terrorism targeting data centers, criminal defendants choosing AI lawyers over public defenders, or religious revival provoked by the disruption. Societal degeneration, predicted one person, will continue to accelerate. Members also list talents like funhouse construction, accent imitation, backcountry skiing, urban exploration, and meditative and psychedelic inquiry into the nature of reality. One offers compassion and existential dread. Another, dinner parties, keeping secrets, remembering birthdays. Their book recommendations skew toward the canonical and optimization-minded. Marcus Aurelius and Milan Kundera alongside Annie Duke's Thinking in Bets. Peter Attia's Outlive, and from one at least attendee, Thiel's own 0 to 1. Can you imagine being what a brown noser you have to fucking be to go to Thiel's little fucking, suck and fuck society, and you're like, what's your favorite book? Yours, Mr. Thiel. Dialogue also plays matchmaker. It's performed. That guy was trying to get his back blown out by Thiel. I can tell you that. You know who that was? You know who picked that book? It was probably fucking Vance. Its participant form asks registrants whether they are looking for love and offers to include single man, single woman, or other respondents in future matchmaking. A separate site, dating.dialogue.org, hosts an app pitch as meaningful connections for exceptional people. I gotta come back to that book choice again. What a ridiculous book choice! Like, I didn't even know he wrote books. I knew he had that one weird Antichrist article, but even that he co-wrote it. So let's be real, he didn't fucking write it. He's got his little goy to write it for him. That's what he did. Which I can't remember the name of the guy. It's whatever. He has some guy who writes a bunch of his ghost writing stuff. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe that guy wrote his book too. But my point being, it's not even Thiel is a well-known author. I didn't even know he had a book. Anyways, going on, the forum also gathers sensitive answers, including each registrant's political leaning, which Dialogue promises will not be shared in the app with other participants ever. Well, here we are. That data and the matchmaking responses were exposed in the link. So yeah, all that data, they're like, oh, this will not be shared in the app or with participants. Well, I mean, I don't know if it was literally in the app, but they stored it somewhere. So here we are. The records sit in Airtable, a commercial database for each participant, dialogue, logs, and membership status, every retreat the person has attended, a biography, a home city, and a private access token. Wired is not publishing the tokens, which function as login credentials or the personalized account links that contain them. The leaked registry list also names senior figures absent from the public directory of 113. Randy Krosner, the former governor of the Federal Reserve, who now serves on the Bank of England's Financial Policy Committee. Hallie Hoffman, a former general counsel and acting chief of staff, or the DEA, or of the DEA. Jonathan Greenblatt, the chief executive of the ADL. Peter Gettler, president of Cato. Well, that's unsurprising. Ryan Stowers, executive director of the Koch Foundation. Well, that's also unsurprising. Roger Myerson, a Nobel laureate economist at the University of Chicago. It also lists a cluster of Google and Google DeepMind executives, among them Tom Liu, who leads global affairs for the company's Frontier AI division, and one working journalist, Sued Makhanet, a national security correspondent for the Washington Post. She is listed as running an event called Ulysses Book Club. The rest of the membership spans hedge fund and private equity billionaires, current and former foreign officials, network of television actors, best-selling authors, and religious leaders. One of several internal documents Dialogue left exposed on the same online database that held its registration records is a guide for event moderators, urging them to remind participants that everything is off the record, as we're reading the fucking record right now, and that comments should be concise and non-obvious. It also coaches them to model brief introductions to avoid status signaling in this room full of senators, dignitaries, and tycoons. So that's funny. Multiple assurances if it's off the record while we were literally reading the fucking record. We're learning about the record right now. Discipline imposed by the group did not extend to its website. The directory was embedded in the code of dialogue.org, a near empty page, and was served to any visitor who viewed the page's source. Separate dialogue page at app.dialogue.org presents a sign-in screen for Dialogue Global 2026 outside Dublin. The page invites any visitor to sign in by email or Google account and presents no terms of service, no notice the application is restricted to members, and no indication that an invitation is required. Now, I'm no tech guy, but this sounds like they didn't really do a good job of OPSEC, like at all. So keep in mind, this is Peter Thiel, the guy who like founded fucking Palantir, who has like all of your data. So just worth mentioning. Dialogue has operated with little public footprint since its founding. It holds at least one retreat a year with assigned seating, moderated sessions, and a rule that nothing said is for attribution. So what is that? God, I can't remember the name of it. That's God, what is it called? It's like a specific type of. God, I know they gave Tim Pool shit for this when he had his Netanyahu meeting. It's a. Why can't I think of it? It's like a certain type of journalistic rules where it's like no one. So he's like not giving attribution. God, I can't think. I'm going to think of it later. It's bugging me. I can't think of what it's called. Past gatherings have been held at the Ritz-Carlton, Dove Mountain in Arizona, and the San Clemente Palace in Venice, Italy, according to Axios, which first reported the group's plans for a campus in the Washington, D.C. area. It's been likened to a tech industry version of Bilderberg, the off-the-record gathering of Western political and business elites. Accounts describe retreats of around 100 participants. The 2026 registration list reviewed by Wired names 222. Public glimpses are rare. The statistician Andrew Gelman published one of Dialogue's invitations to his blog in 2022, describing its format and a registration fee of more than $16,000. The 2014 retreat drew renewed attention this year when an invitation forwarded by to the financier Jeffrey Epstein surfaced in the U.S. Justice Department release of the Epstein files. Jeff Epstein appears on an attached list of past participants, but the person is actually the former CFO of Oracle, not the deceased sex trafficker. So it was a different Jeffrey Epstein that also is tied to Jeffrey Thiel. So Thiel's got a bunch of Jeffrey Epsteins, I guess, around him. So That's a piece from Wired. And I do think it's significant. I think Elon Musk was one of the ones named in all of this. Apparently, he's just become the world's first trillionaire, so I think that's worth mentioning in all of this. Also, some journalists tied up in this. Here's Joe Rowe. He says, "You're telling me Ezra Klein, Derek Thompson, and Jerusalem Desmas are mouthpieces for reactionary Silicon Valley billionaires?" I'm hearing this for the first time. They're pulling a piece from Prospect here, an excerpt here. It says the pair's analysis came out of a joint 5+ year, 100-book quest for a root disease diagnostic for what is crippling left politics and rotting our American democracy. They spent half a decade alongside a community of intellectuals like Ezra Klein, Jerusalem Desmas, Jen Palka, Steve Teles, Derek Thompson, working on piecing that analysis together via an emerging political ideology called abundance. The goal now is operationalizing it into a powerful political faction that drives public outcomes at scale. So there's more. So this abundance fund. Oh, this is. I'm retarded. I connected. But I guess this isn't technically connected. I thought these were people named in the cult, but no. This is what is this? This is a group called Abundance. Sorry, it's Abundance. That is also being funded by Silicon Valley. So I guess these are some other people. So this does tie into the same thing, though. This is some left-wing journalistic types that are clearly taking some money from Silicon Valley, is what it says. So let's dig into that a little bit, since I did accidentally dig into it. I thought this was one of the many people named in the cult thing here, or the secret society, or whatever you want to call it. So let's at least read a few paragraphs here so I can tell you what this is. You at least detail how these people are moving in. So the Abundance Network says, according to Zach Rosen, founder of California YIMBY and the Abundance Network, the problem with politics is Americans being too involved. Bemoaning the rise of small dollar political donations and fundraising documents leaked to the Prospect, Rosen is blunt. Small dollar internet fundraising makes politics dumber. Rosen misses what he considers to be a bygone era of elite dominance, lamenting the current state of democratized influence. Rosen says the old gatekeepers were political professionals who could count cards. Small dollar donors today are amateurs yanking the handles of Act Blue slot machines. Okay, all right, that's interesting. So this is a guy of the Abundance Network. Let me see. Now these people, says they have no need for small donations. They come to do political battle with $260 million a year from billionaire benefactors. One document asserts. So this group it sounds like they're somewhat tentatively trying to align themselves to the left, which is not that I have any sort of love lost for the left here, but this is hilarious considering what the left is known to stand for. This would be a thing. So says one document, this abundance capital stack is being deployed to organize in all 50 states and consists of a $120 million annual commitment from ex-fund manager and current Meta board member John Arnold, $40 million from Facebook Meta co-founder Dustin Moskovitz, and $100 million from Steve Ballmer, the LA Clippers owner and former Microsoft executive. So this is some leftist project where they're trying to essentially, I guess, de-democratize, essentially, and they are very well funded, I guess, by the. So I think this is more indicative of where they're going. Well, this is totally falls in line with the teal outlook on the world. It's over the American Prospect for those who want to dig more into that. I don't want to belabor this too much. That was actually just a big old oopsie. And then here's more on these people meeting with Teal. Here's someone saying, according to Valet, there's someone named Elizondo was privately meeting with Teal this whole time. Now, I believe this might be some alien stuff. Who is this? This is Gary Nolan and Lou Elizondo. So let's read now. To be completely clear, I didn't really know who these people are, what's going on here, but one of you guys tagged me in this. And I trust you guys, so I figured we'd dig into it, figure out who these people are. So they tagged me in this back and forth here. So let's dig through this. Here's an excerpt from some book. It says, if so, it doesn't correspond to the scrapings stolen from Ray Stanford and then from NASA. neatly transferred to Langley for secret testing. More shenanigans than anyone. Our main topic was the plan to start a new phase of research. Gary and Lou had gone to see Peter Thiel again, now in Bel Air. Peter told them he was only interested in applying working technology to the problem, but of course there's no such thing in the open, possibly not behind closed doors either, as Peter knows well. They walked out empty-handed. All right, now let's, here's more. And then this person, Paranormal, quote tweets this, says, in Jacques Vallée's new book, Forbidden Science 7, he makes a claim that Gary Nolan and Lou Elizondo were privately meeting with Peter Thiel. Now, I thought maybe he had more to add here to the literature, but it's the same thing we were just looking at a minute ago. Figured take a moment, look up these people. Gary Nolan, I'm assuming it sounds like we're talking about alien researchers. See if we can't find, Gary Nolan, here you go. Says Gary Nolan, British-American immunologist, academic, inventor, and business executive. Since 2022, most of his public appearances have been related to his support for ufology and the belief that extraterrestrial intelligence has visited or resides on Earth. So kind of more showing where the tendrils of Thiel has reached. So he's an immunologist. Let's check out the other guy. Who is the other guy? Lou Elizondo. Let's look up Lou Elizondo. I'm assuming the same one. Learn a little bit more of this person. All right. The son of, it's an American author, media personality, and UFO disclosure activist, formerly employed by the U.S. DOD. You can see this picture of him right here. You've probably seen him before. He claims that some UFOs are of extraterrestrial, cryptid, or interdimensional origin, and the U.S. government is withholding and suppressing this information. He has been criticized for not offering physical evidence for his assertions and for presenting images of mundane objects such as light fixtures and irrigation circles as possible alien spaceships. So more. Okay, so these are the people that are meeting with Peter Thiel, according to Jacques Vallée. Let's look him up real quick. That name sounds familiar. I swear I've heard of him before. So let's look up who that is just to complete this dig. Jacques Vallée, a French. Yes, I've definitely heard this guy's name before. He's a French internet pioneer, computer scientist, venture capitalist, author, ufologist, and astronomer currently residing in San Fran and Paris, France. So let me see. His scientific career began as a professional astronomer at the Paris Observatory. He co-developed the first computerized map of Mars for NASA in 1963. He later worked on the Network Information Center for ARPANET, a precursor to the modern internet, as a staff engineer of SIR's International Augmentation Research Center under Douglas Engelbart. Okay, so he worked on the precursor of the internet. He's also an important figure in UFOs and UAPs. He was first noted for his defense of the scientific legitimacy of the extraterrestrial hypothesis and later for promoting the interdimensional hypothesis. So these are the figures we're talking about here. So it's more to the point. This guy, Peter Thiel, is very interested in not only the AI, the alien, and it does seem, if you do look into the Thiel-verse, these ideas do seem to bleed into each other quite a bit. That's where you end up with Rogan saying dumb shit like AI Jesus and shit like that. This is the sort of stuff I'm talking about. And this is definitely something we should be concerned about, I think, exactly for reasons like this. I mean, we got this whole data center movement going on through the world right now, and the corresponding like pushback from the people not really having it. But we just kind of spent this whole segment talking about some AI overlord, and then all the people that are essentially he has his tendrils wrapped them around, and then we have them talking like this in real life in regards to these sort of things. Here's Gretchen Whitmer that was caught on a hot mic to Oracle CEO Clay Magourik. This is on, I guess, June 1st, 2026. Said, we're used to people saying fuck no and then doing it anyway. So, which is super concerning, given what we've been talking about and the people doing these sorts of things. So here is the video. Let's get into it.
We're used to people saying, no, that's doing it anyway.
Anyone that can live through a winter like you did. I don't know, just like they have people have.
A little bit hard to make out, but I think it's pretty clear that's exactly what she said. The fuck no wasn't as obvious, but it definitely got, we're used to people saying no and then not doing it and then doing it anyways, so definitely something to be concerned about. With that, guys, we're at the end of the show today. Let's go ahead and roll through the chat one more time, say our goodbyes, and then I guess tomorrow we'll be talking about some grape gangs. Sorry we didn't get into the grape today. For those who are looking forward to the grape, we'll grape tomorrow. You know what they say, why grape today when you can grape tomorrow? So we're going to grape tomorrow. But with that, let's roll the chat one more time. Say some goodbyes. And we'll get out of here. All right. Well, guy looks like Epstein. Man, you guys didn't have much to say about this bit, did you, huh? You guys were all chatty a little bit. All right. We got one last squeeze in here. Afarez 623. Good evening. Good evening to you. Although I guess it is the evening. It's 1 o'clock now. Now we're at 1 p.m. over here. It's like noonish. Yeah, we can call it evening. Close enough. But good to see you here. I know you're one of our foreign fellers. Appreciate you. I believe, the Netherlands? I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. If I got it right, hell yeah. But with that, guys, for those who want to support what I'm doing, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can find the show on YouTube, Rumble, all the major audio podcatchers, and Twitter as well. On Twitter, that's at TerrorGangJose. Everywhere else, it's the No Way Jose podcast. And if you want to support the show the best way you can do it with money over at patreon.com/NoWayJose2020, or you can go over the top left-hand corner here. We got a QR code, brings you the same exact place. And if you want to support this show, or I just said that already, and at the low level of $2, you get a whole host of perks to give you guys access to early episodes. I do 1 to 2 of those per week, do 3 to 4 of them, or keep 3 to 4 of them behind the paywall at any given time, give you guys access to ad-free RSS feed, give you guys access to Telegram, give you access to the pre-show, post-show, and video calls. And me and Austin's weekly live call-in show, Already Dead, which is on Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And I give a big shout-out to the highest level of my Patreon. It's a big thank you for their support. And my previous Ghost and Tower Gang, Outlander Toad, also at Brigade D's, at ZOVRCK, at _ Zeal, Tim Tuttle, at John Klebold, big fan of the show, Torrin May, at Wayne Tackles, 1-800 Car for Kids, No Free Lunch Jack, Mark Vespel, Jacob Wintergrad, the Biblical Energy Podcast, and John Black, that beautiful bastard. And with that, guys, we'll go ahead and get out of here. Enjoy this outro. What I'm about to show you right here is the difference between me and regular people on the Titanic. So we're doing regular people on the Titanic, and then me if I was on the Titanic. So I hope you guys enjoy this. A little bit of a goofy outro. We'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.
All right, so this is regular people if they were on the Titanic. What the fuck is happening? What the fuck is going on? Versus if I were on the Titanic. Whoa, fuck, it's already sinking. I have to get to the lifeboats. I run to the lifeboats, I pass Rose, grab her, snap her neck, toss her overboard. I get to the lifeboats, and there I see them. The real reason the Titanic sank. Hitler, J.P. Morgan, and Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd, what the fuck? Get out of here, Paul! Go! I kick Adolf, take my knife, throw it at J.P., spin kick Hitler overboard. That leaves you, J.P. Morgan. Or should I say, I unmask him, James Cameron. That's right, time-traveling director James Cameron sunk the Titanic so that years later he can make a biopic about it and fund Avatar. At least we know what the JP stands for. Giant pussy. I take out my spear, throw it through him, but he melts back together. Spin kick, pick him up. Takedown. I'm not gonna let you kill thousands of people so that you can get some Navi ass. I beat him to a pulp. He coughs up blood, but he says, even if you stop me, you're not stopping this ship. We'll see about that. I grab an anchor. I pick him up, make a movie about 9/11, bitch. Impale him. Signature move. Toss him overboard. Run to the other side of the ship. I start drifting the ship with his dick. Fuck, we're still gonna hit the glacier. I have to do something about this. I run to the front, jump, and I push it out of the way myself. I float up to the surface and grab onto that door.